right. Welcome back, everyone. So I found this video, and I think it's interesting. I wanted to kind of go through it and see what this 11-year-old is proclaiming. This is an 11-year-old trying to dispute Stephen Hawkings by saying that God does exist. Actually, wait, hold on just a minute. Alright, I got my demonstration tools here because, I've watched the video, but I'm going to show you an aspect of physics because of something that he says. Alright, so this is the first time I've tried doing it this way. So here we go. 11-year-old wants to prove that Stephen Hawkings is wrong. God does exist. And here we go. Let's play.
And in reality, it takes more faith to believe that there's no God than it does to believe that there is a God.
Please say that again. That's an incredible statement.
Because it makes more sense that something created the universe.
I understand from the research we've done that you've done some television.
All right, we're going to pause it there. First of all, why do you suppose they waited until after Stephen Hawking's death to come out with this? Why isn't it that they had him talk directly to Stephen Hawkings? And to say that it takes more faith to believe that there isn't a God than it takes to believe that there is a God, I find that fallible. I think it's easier to not believe in God. I think it takes less faith to not believe in God because, well, there's no presence of God anywhere at all. All there is all this growth of material that's just shit everywhere. Like we have chemicals and proteins and RNA and DNA and electrons and protons and neutrons and all that sort of stuff, and spring forth all this kind of growth where it's like bacteria gone super crazy and we have life on this planet. So no, I think it takes more faith to believe that there is this omnipotent being than saying, no, there isn't one, because there's absolutely no evidence of his existence. None whatsoever. The holy book, whatever, man wrote it. So, sorry, as he was saying.
Because it makes more sense that something created the universe.
I understand from the research we've done that you've done some television interviews. This is not television. This is being recorded for our website and for the net. You stated there that you would like to prove that God exists. Can you tell us about that?
Okay, we're going to pause it. I would like... Go ahead and pursue proving that God exists. Many have tried and failed. Okay, let's keep going.
Well, I could go on about my whole theory, but...
Whatever you like.
It's a little long.
Okay.
So should I?
Yeah, that's why we're here. We're here to learn. So,
Okay.
right? Theological school, college, we're here to learn.
Okay. Let's start with the theory of relativity. You know Einstein, right?
Yes, I haven't met him, but I know of him. Yes.
Well, in his theory, he said that the displacement of space-time is the cause of gravity. Sorry.
It's okay.
And if you're confused what space-time is, recently they found this new particle called the Higgs boson, and it makes up the Higgs field, which is...
Okay, we're going to pause that. The Higgs particle from the Hadron Collider, that's a very, very rare phenomenon, as well as antimatter. I don't know how much research this kid has done. Obviously, this kid is very intelligent. And one of the things I don't like is throughout this video, if you notice that the guy that's doing this he's a man of the cloth. He's a pastor, a preacher, or something, and I don't like when people use a child's intelligence to push an agenda, especially in this case. We are looking at a Christian organization exploiting a child's intelligence to push a Christo-fascist agenda that God exists. And I find that absolutely demeaning and deplorable and nasty and lacking in efficacy and just, it's not humane. All right, let's continue.
And it makes up the Higgs field, which is essential.
So far, I've got you. Following so far.
Okay. So Einstein said that the displacement of space-time is the cause of gravity.
Okay.
If this is the case, then the absence of gravity, or the absence of space-time, must be pure gravity. Because of the law of flow, things will go to the point of least resistance. And if there's nothing there to resist, that's the point of least resistance.
Gravity is a force of nature. It is not like electricity and rays of light. It doesn't take the flow of least resistance. I will demonstrate that in a little while. And the absence of gravity, I don't know that we've seen anything that has the absence of gravity other than a vacuum, which nature doesn't particularly like, which actually vacuums produce quite an interesting gravitational pull, and space itself and gravity has been explained how that works. So, okay, let's continue.
Okay.
So, an absence of space-time would be pure gravity. Black holes are an absence of space-time, which is why nothing, not even light, can escape their pull. Also, if the universe is all of space-time and the entire Higgs field, all of space-time and matter, everything, then whatever's outside of the universe must be an absence of space-time.
Okay, we're going to pause that. Why does it have to be an absence of space-time? The continuum of time, again, time is a unit of measurement. It's a man-made construct, but time itself is endless. It has no beginning and no end, which he later in this video will allocate the concept of the universe to the same thing as being time, where the universe can have a beginning and an end, but time itself does not. He correlates these two together, and they're very, very different, because time has no beginning, it has no end. Even if there's nothing around to perceive existence, existence is still there, whether it's space or nothing. Nothing is still something. It's just that there's no one there to perceive it. Carl Sagan said it best: we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. Okay, let's continue.
Must be an absence of space-time. If that is the case,
which it isn't,
then the universe is not expanding into the absolute void around it. It's falling. Now, let's think back to the beginning of time.
Okay, we're going to pause it. there is no beginning of time. There is no end of time. Time has always been and always will be. Period. Time is a man-made construct used to measure one moment to the next. There is no beginning, no end to time. There is a beginning and end to the universe. Okay, let's keep going.
You know the universe has an age, right? 13.8 billion years.
Did you know that?
I'm going to pause that. Okay, that is what I'm talking about. This is this cute little baiting. Did you get all that? Did you understand that? Was that totally like intelligent and over your head? Yeah, this kid really knows what he's talking about. And that's a manipulation tactic. Okay, let's keep going.
Most of you had no idea what he's talking about. Okay, go ahead.
So, 13.8 billion years ago, the entire universe was reduced to a singularity, a particle smaller than a quark. However, if gravity is always working, i.e. if you jumped off this building, you're not going to fall 15 seconds later, you're going to fall immediately. So if gravity is always working, then and if the singularity was always there, like some atheists try to say, then the universe should have no age. It should be infinitely old.
Hold on, I'm going to pause it there. That's what I was talking about. No, the universe doesn't need to be infinitely old. That's time. Time has no beginning, no end. The universe does have a beginning and an end, as he stated earlier, 3.8 billion years. I don't know that that's accurate. I think it's actually older than that. I'm not sure. I'd have to go and look that up again. It's been a while. But essentially, I'm going to break down how the Big Bang Theory works, is that so the universe is expanding and expanding. As it expands, everything gets further and further apart, and stars die and things die, and until it becomes cold and lifeless. And because of this expansion, it'll contract back in to a point of what he is calling a singularity, but I don't know that it's a singularity, but this is a concept of physics where it contracts back in and it compresses so condensely that it creates this massive ball of energy compressing into each other that it explodes back out and creates the universe again. That's the concept behind the Big Bang, as I understand it. Now, there's quantum science, which offers a different explanation of our universe, which is that universes exist on these sort of platelets that are, we see things three-dimensionally, and their concept is different dimensions and stuff like that, but that these plates are wobbling together and they crash, and they think that the crash could explain the Big Bang. But I think it's more reasonable to accept that the universe is expanding to a point where it eventually will collapse back in on itself and create that compression that just has to release again. So essentially the universe is creating itself and destructing itself, and then creating itself and destructing itself over and over and over and over again. But there is no beginning to time, no beginning and no end to time, just to our universe. So we're clear about that. Gravity is a force of nature. It doesn't work like electricity, where it takes, or water. It's not an element. It's not a physical, tangible thing. It's a force of nature. It like thermodynamics. Okay, so let's continue.
The universe should have no age. It should be infinitely old. But it's not. It has an age. It's 13.8 billion years old. And something can't come from nothing, because it would have to exist in order to cause itself to exist, which is illogical.
Okay, we're going to pause it there. So that's the whole argument that atheists have presented. Okay, so you're saying that something can't come from nothing, but it's okay that God came from nothing. We don't need an explanation of where God came from to create the universe, but we do need an explanation of how the universe came into being. Everything has to have an explanation. Some things just can't simply be like gravity. inertia. So if something can't come from nothing, where did God come from? Huh? And that form of logic that's circular reasoning, because it doesn't stop. And it's like, well, something created God. What created that something? What created that something? What created that something? What created that something? And on and on and on and on and on. You'll never reach the end of you'll never come to a conclusion with that philosophy. Never. It'll never happen. All right, let's continue.
It would have to exist in order to cause itself to exist, which is illogical. So therefore, something other must have created the singularity. That something other we observe as God.
I'm going to pause it there. Why does that something other have to be God? Like, you could find a force of nature that is responsible for that, and you could call it the God force, but that doesn't mean that it's specifically God. And then again, as according to this philosophy, well, where did that come from? Okay, let's continue.
Have other people challenged you on your theory, or are you feel solid with what you're saying?
I feel fairly solid with what I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. All right. I have a real problem with this. This is more baiting. You know, where he's saying, you know, have people debated you on this? And I feel really bad for this 11-year-old that this clergy member is trying to pit an 11-year-old genius against adult atheists who have been debating theists on these type of principles for a very long time. I don't think that's fair to the 11-year-old, and I find it deplorable and disgusting. And I think that I think that child will be lucky if he has a childhood, and I think that he should spend his time trying to have a childhood, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with pursuing endeavors of curiosity. In fact, I would greatly encourage seeking out knowledge and philosophy, but I do not appreciate the clergy using this child as a means of propaganda. It's disgusting. It really is. I don't think that they should be pitting an 11-year-old against grown adults that could probably really hurt his feelings. He's a child. He's immature. He's not developed enough to do that. So let's continue.
What about Hawkings when he talks about the fact that there should be no cause because of gravity? You want to talk about that?
Well, Hawking's theory that there should be no cause because of gravity. Well, gravity can't create something. Gravity can't do anything if it's not acting against something. Gravity is literally nothing, as we stated before. And nothing applied on nothing is just nothing.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. Gravity is nothing. He's absolutely right about that. So why are we talking about taking the path of least resistance when we're talking about a force of nature that is not a physical, tangible, observable thing? We observe it in the sense that if I pick this up and drop it, it will fall. We observe it through singularities, but it itself is not a visually measurable thing. It has no wavelength like light or electricity. Okay, let's continue.
Okay. All right. Well, did you get that? Most of it? We'll have some questions afterwards. Okay. Clearly, you have been gifted with certain things and knowledge. And I guess the question, and it's probably too young yet for you to actually figure it out, but what are your dreams? What is something that you would like to accomplish in the future? I know your parents love you and they support you and they're extremely proud of you. But aside from that, what does William want?
I want to be an astrophysicist.
Pause.
Astrophysicist.
Absolutely. Become an astrophysicist. I would totally encourage that. I think it's great that a young, inspired mind is inspired by physics. Let's keep going.
Yes.
Okay.
So that I can prove to the scientific world that God does exist.
Okay. I think there's a follow-up question to that. You want to prove it. The question is why? Why do we need to prove it to anybody? Why do you need to prove it to the scientists?
You have to prove it to the scientists because that's the philosophy of atheism, is that we don't believe that there is a God until you present evidence. Duh. Let's keep going.
What do you think?
Well, because there's these atheists that try to say that there is no God, when in reality it takes more faith to believe that there's no God than it does to believe that there is a God.
Please say that again. That's an incredible statement.
Because it makes more sense that something created the universe than, say, the universe created itself. That takes more faith to say the universe created itself than to say something other created the universe, because that is more logical.
All right. So he's saying that there's proof of God because gravity is not a physical tangible. Well, he says that it is a physical tangible thing, and it takes a path of least resistance, even though that is indicative of things that are material, that actually have a spectrum that are observable. Now, gravity is observable through measurable data, but it's not observable through anything that we can actually watch. Like we can break down the light spectrum. We can see a spectrum of light that we ourselves cannot see through technological advances. We have nothing like that for the force of gravity. Gravity is a force of nature, and I'm going to demonstrate how this works, like let's say, like with vacuums and stuff. So this is a clear bottle. It's an incense burner. I make these. And as you see, I drilled a little hole in the bottom here. See, I'll take the stick of incense and stick it through there. There's actually a very good reason why that hole is there, and it has to do with physics. Nature does not like empty spaces. Right now, this entire bottle is filled up with air, and I can close this hole off and put my hand over there. This bottle still contains air, which is why there is no suction. Now, if I blew the air out without lifting my hand up here, and was able to blow the air out without having air being to go back in, the bottle would actually start sucking in like I was sucking the air out. And that's more demonstrable, but with a plastic bottle where I could actually suck the air out because it'll collapse in on itself, because nature does not like empty space. This is a force of nature. This is not something like electricity where you can observe the effects of it. This is what we call rules and laws of physics and nature. Now, air is a gas, so we can't see it. So what we can do, though, is we can take something that is a visible gaseous vapor, like incense, and we'll light it here. So now we can see the gaseous mist of the biomatter burning. So we're going to put it right here into this bottle. Now, right now, the gas can escape because there's air flowing in through the hole, and it allows the gas to come out because, as I said, nature does not like empty spaces. Now watch what happens when I put my finger over the hole. As this gas fills the bottle, it's pushing the oxygen out. So it's taking up space, which is what this force of nature, this is a rule of law and of physics and nature, is that empty space creates vacuum. So when I cover up the hole, the bottle just fills up, and it just keeps filling up with this, this actual gas that we can see. And funny enough, you can actually pour it out like it was a liquid. Kind of nifty. And all we have to do to get it out of there, because nature does not like, as I was saying, empty space, all we got to do is replace the space with oxygen to get the other gas, the other vapor, to come out. So I've uncovered the hole, and now I'm going to just force oxygen in there. Voila! That is what we call physics. Gravity is very much the same thing. It's a force of nature. It's not something that's going to take the path of least resistance. It's just a law that you can't escape from. It's part of the dynamics of the world we live in. And it's interesting, and there's many different experiments you can do with that, but it's somewhat the similar effect of gravity. Is that where there is an absence, it will try and fill the absence with something. Which is why in space it's a gravity, so it's expanding just like in a balloon, only there's no oxygen. Eventually, when all the stars die out, it'll collapse back in on itself, which creates a tremendous amount of energy that will make it go kaboom. And another way to illustrate that is when Einstein said, to every action there is an equal but opposite reaction. And that energy is transferable. Now, energy is something like the vapor, where you can actually observe it. It's electricity, it's fire, it's heat. Gravity is not these things. I think it'll be interesting when this 11-year-old goes into physics and starts looking through physics and trying to prove God. It'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. I'm betting that he's going to come up empty-handed, though. But what's really sad to me is that the Christian people in there are using this kid as a way of propagandizing a concept of trying to prove that God exists through science. And I would absolutely be in favor of trying to prove God exists through science. If it can be done, then absolutely do it. But what I don't appreciate is the church using him to push an agenda. Because right now, as it is, the theories on the table and the arguments that have been given. You're talking about the naivety of a child that doesn't fully understand physics. And they're putting him on the spot, saying he's challenging Stephen Hawkings. Where it's like, I don't think Stephen Hawkings would even consider a debate with that 11-year-old, because that's just cruel. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to. And with that, I'm out. And there's no God, no Satan, no afterlife. This is what you get. You die, and then that's it.